In this movie, I'll show you how to trace a piece of artwork using nothing but uniform strokes. And you can see here that the effects are pretty great. The thing is, it's a more intensive process for Illustrator, so it takes more time. So this piece of artwork happened to start as a pencil sketch that I did with my youngest son, Sam, and then I took it into Photoshop and firmed up the lines. All right, so here's how it works. Step one is to go to the File menu and choose a new command, or of course you can press Control-N or Command-N on the Mac. And I once again started with a basic RGB document, and I went ahead and switched the orientation to portrait and clicked OK. All right, next step is to go to the File menu and choose the Place command, or press Control-Shift-P or Command-Shift-P on the Mac. And then, if you're working along with me, go ahead and locate that scanned pencil sketch and click the Place button. And then click inside the document window, don't drag, just click, in order to place that image on the artboard. All right, next I'm going to go ahead and switch to the artboard tool. And as you can see here, I've switched back to the single column toolbox just to take up less room on screen. And now, assuming that your smart guides are turned on, go ahead and drag the corners until they snap into alignment with the corner of the artwork, and then press the Escape key to exit the artboard mode. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on my artwork quite a bit so I can keep track of the top portion of this document. And I'll go up to the Image Trace button and simply click on it to start things off. And if you get that warning saying there's too much resolution, just go ahead and click OK in order to ignore that dreadful advice. And a few moments later, Illustrator will work its default magic on the image. All right, now what we want to do is bring up the Image Trace panel, which you can do by clicking on this Image Trace icon up here in the Control panel. If necessary, go ahead and twirl open the advanced settings like so. And for now, turn off the Preview checkbox. And the reason is, I've already explained how these options work, and I just want to dial in a bunch of them that happen to work well for this particular image. So I'll start by taking the threshold value all the way up to 230, and that way we're tracing more of the artwork instead of less. And I'll tab my way down to the noise value and take it down to just 5 pixels. Next, you want to turn off Snap Curves to Lines and turn on Ignore White so that we're going to end up tracing just black and not white. And then finally, turn off the Fills checkbox, and what that's going to do is force strokes to turn on. You can trace both filled and stroked paths if you like, but that's not really the effect we're looking for. So just go ahead and turn off the Fills checkbox, and then click on the Trace button. That's an alternative to the Preview checkbox, by the way, an alternative way to at least invoke a trace. And a few moments later, you should see a bunch of trace strokes on screen. If Illustrator freaks out a little bit in the meantime, don't worry about it. It shouldn't crash, it should hang in there, but you never know. Again, this is a complex process for the program. All right, now given the default settings, we have a ton of gaps in the illustration, and that's because of this stroke option right here. And notice it's telling us the maximum width in pixels that will be recognized and converted to stroked paths. So in other words, the bigger the value, the fewer gaps you'll get. But you don't want to take the value too high because that'll result in longer delays. So what I recommend is you move in kind of baby steps. And so what I'm going to do is take this stroke value up to 20 pixels and then press the Enter key or the Return key on the Mac to invoke that change. And notice the Preview checkbox is back on. So in a few moments, we should see a progress bar or two. If it just seems like Illustrator's ignoring you, just hang in there and wait a moment. And notice I never did see a progress bar, but Illustrator did go ahead and complete the trace. Now what we want to do is check things to make sure everything looks the way it should. And you should see very few, if any, gaps inside the artwork. In particular, this little pocket pen should be traced in its entirety. And in my case, everything looks pretty darn good. Now, one of the things about auto-tracing stroked artwork is you cannot control the line weight until you expand the path outlines. So I'm going to go ahead and close the Image Trace panel, and I'm going to make some modifications here inside the Layers panel by clicking on a fly-up menu icon, choosing Panel Options, then selecting Other, and changing that value to 70 pixels. And then I'll just go ahead and rename the layer Tracing and twirl it open as well. Now, we want to keep the original traced artwork. We don't want to lose it. So what you can do is copy and paste in front if you like. But my experience is that Illustrator, as often as not, when you copy this piece of artwork, will crash, at least on this machine. So an alternate to using the clipboard at all is to press the Alt key or the Option key on the Mac and drag this item like so. Just drag it up a little bit. And so that's an Alt drag or an Option drag, and that'll create a copy of it without going to the clipboard, which is a lot easier on Illustrator and possibly easier on your nerves as well. All right, now I'm going to turn off the original, and then I'll go up to the control panel and click on the Expand button in order to scan this special object to static path outlines. And then I'll change the line weight to 1.2 points in order to produce this effect here. And if you get a little warning saying that Illustrator can't do it, just click OK, and it should do it anyway. All right, now we want to simplify the art. So go ahead and press Control-H or Command-H on the Mac to hide the anchor points, and then go to the Object menu, choose Path, and choose Simplify. And this one really responds poorly to the default settings. This sun is a complete mess, and this moon is a disaster. So what I suggest you do is once again take this curve precision value up to 100%, then press the Tab key, and notice, assuming the preview checkbox is turned on, that the number of anchor points goes up, which is not what we want. So go ahead and click on that curve precision value and press the down arrow key in order to reduce the value until the artwork starts to change more than you're comfortable with, which once again happens for me at 97%. So I'll press the up arrow key to take that value up to 98%, but we're still losing more than 1,000 anchor points, which is great. And then I just experimented with this angle threshold value, but notice how the moon's hand changes, his elbow as well. When I take that value up to 100 degrees, we get a little more bending action. And incidentally, you could take this value all the way up to 180 degrees if you like, but to my mind, that doesn't create exactly the right effect. So once again, I'll take it to 100 degrees. You can see we're still dropping more than 1,000 anchor points, at which point I'll go ahead and click OK to apply that change. And that's how you trace a piece of scanned artwork using nothing but uniform strokes here inside Illustrator.